So your boy OJ dies at the age of 76. You know we got to talk about this.
Terrible.
I love Brotha T.
How you doing? This is Terry Gown Wilson, aka your boy Brotha T, here with another one. So I like to thank you and welcome to the New Life Tree, where we like to give you little pine cones of wisdom for your motivation and mental health. If you don't know what that is, stick around, stay on the channel, you'll get it. Remember, I don't know everything, but I might know a lot of things. So today we're going to talk about your man, OJ. If for most of you know that OJ was a very famous football player. Man, he was really good. I believe he is the first, NFL running back to gain 2,000 yards in a season. And for those that don't know how to put that in perspective, there's only been so many dudes that's ever done it. I don't even think it's double figures, right? So he was a big deal when he was playing. And after his playing career, he got into acting a little bit, was in some Hertz commercials. I remember those were very popular.
Nobody does it better than Hertz.
Nobody does it better.
He was in the Naked Gun series. Those were popular movies, pretty popular at least. And then after that, he did some commentating for, I forgot what network the NFL was coming on at that point, maybe NBC. But he was he was one of the sideline reporters, and he used to break down the games and stuff like that. So OJ was a pretty big deal and a pretty big celebrity. At one point in time, he was probably one of the biggest black faces that you would see on TV. Fast forward, and in the 90s, he was, accused of a double deletion of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson, who just happened to be his ex-wife at the time. I don't think they were officially divorced, but I don't know. I forget that detail, but he was the prime suspect. At one point in time, they ended up with a chase. He was in a white Bronco with his football buddy, Al Collins, and they were getting followed by the police, and they were on the freeway. I remember this specifically because they interrupted my program for that mess. And my man Akeem Olajuwon for the Rockets, I wanted to watch the NBA Finals, and here we are watching this dude in a truck trying to get away from the police. Man, that stuff, I didn't want to see that at the time because I didn't know the significance yet. It ended up being the trial of the century after all that. I'm not going to give you the details of all that, but he ended up getting arrested. They ended up putting him on trial. Ended up being the trial of the century. Now, this trial it put a big divide in America. I hate to go there, but basically it became white versus black, really. And black people weren't really saying that OJ didn't do it necessarily, right? Well, what they were saying, we had spent a lifetime watching people of color getting railroaded by the system in the courts and the laws. And that was one time where this happened, and it was like, wait a minute. This is a win, because we're used to losing, and not losing because we actually did something or didn't do something, but losing just off of default. And, that's the way a lot of, especially African Americans, looked at the court system, especially when it came to criminal court or criminal, court. So that was the divide. And of course, the other side, they were saying, hey, he's a deleter. We can't say the other word. So he needs to be in jail, right? So that was the big divide. It was very polarizing. And I remember this was the first trial I remember that was just on every channel. They would just put it on regular network television. They would put it on cable television. It was everywhere. We didn't have a such thing as YouTube or anything like that. So you had to watch the OJ trial wherever you were. And I remember being in school, and we had American history, and I remember the history teacher, Mr. McCord. Shout out to Mr. McCord from Detroit. And he would break down in American history. We took the actual evidence from the case and we broke it down step by step. It was awesome. One of the most awesome experiences I had in school, let me tell you. And everybody had their opinion, had their side, and it was madness. But you know, the verdict came down and he got the acquittal from the jury, and that further divided the nation for a little while. Here's a guy named Bill Dare, and a lot of you don't know this story. But this guy named Bill Dare ended up writing a book entitled OJ Didn't Do It and I Can Prove It. And in that book, the author, Bill Dare, he set out to, find the real facts of the case and to investigate it again. I don't believe it was the name of that book when he set out to do the research. Honestly, I think he set out to prove OJ did the deletions. But what did he find, family? He found that more than likely OJ did not do the deletions, at least directly. It pointed to someone else. I'm not going to tell you who it pointed to because I'm going to spoil the book. I don't want to spoil it because it's so impactful, and the evidence is pretty darn convincing to me, at least. So I'm going to let you look into it for yourself, but you're not going to believe who he says might have done it, more than likely, based on the evidence. So you say to yourself, so why, if he found all this great and evidence that showed this and that, how come they didn't show it and he could have got exonerated? Well, in the book, I'm going by the book, he says he presented this to the prosecutors, presented it to this person, that person. They didn't want anything to do with it. Oh boy. Yeah, that's deep, isn't it? So let's fast forward to some more, and we found out that OJ ended up going to jail anyway. Why did he go to jail? Because a lot of people, there were a big segment of America, big chunk of people in America just wanted him to go to jail because they wanted him to go to jail for those deletions, whether you believe he did it or not. And so what did he do? He ended up going to a Las Vegas room, and he at gunpoint took back a lot of his memorabilia from his football playing days. So basically, he went to jail for taking back his own stuff, basically. But we all know that's not the real reason why he went to jail. We'll leave that alone for another day. So at the end of the day, he was a very polarizing figure. At one point in time in the 70s and 80s, he was the man. In the 90s, boy, he became something else. And in the 2000s and the 2010s, he was that guy that, hey, you knew who he was. He was still a celebrity. But, he just was who he was. He ended up passing at the age of 76. So that's it for my remembrance of the whole OJ Simpson fiasco. We'll talk about it later. And you can leave a comment whether you agree with me, disagree with some of the things I said. Check that book out. OJ Didn't Do It and I Can Prove It. I'm not saying you gotta look at the book or read the book or listen to the audio book and agree with the guy saying, but give him a chance. I think you'll be surprised by some of the stuff he found. This is your man, Terrion Wilson, and I'm going to check you on the next one, family. Peace.